Iran has joined Russia Axis on Ukraine war, EU says.
Here's a summary of the article.
New EU sanctions on Iran make clear that it has joined Russia's war against Ukraine by supplying lethal drones to Moscow. The Iranian regime provides military support for Russia's unprovoked and unjustified war of aggression against Ukraine, via development and delivery of unmanned aerial vehicles to Russia, the EU's draft sanctions notice, seen by EU Observer said. The EU sanctions paper said Bagheri plays a fundamental role in Iran's defense cooperation with the Russian Federation, and that he personally oversaw the building of a ABABIL-2 drone factory in Tajikistan and the supply of Mohajer-6 UAVs to Moscow. It said Qureshi was responsible for negotiating the agreement on Russia drone exports and described Aghjani as the backbone of Iran's unmanned aerial vehicles program. They come after Iranian-made kamikaze drones flying out of Russia rained down on civilian targets in Ukraine this week. EU Foreign Affairs Chief Josep Borrell said the Iranian foreign minister had personally given him categorical denials of Iran's involvement in the war in phone calls between the two top diplomats. The war in Ukraine has also drawn China as well as Iran into an axis of closer cooperation with Russia against the West, but China has stopped short of supplying weapons to Russian President Vladimir Putin, for now.
This post received a score of 13,000, with an upvote ratio of 96%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Russia. Really pulling together a team of winners if WW3 breaks out. So far what? Russia, North Korea, and Iran.
Can't forget that powerhouse Belarus.
Syria as well.
And who can forget their staunch allies the Nicaraguans?
And Chechnya with their famous TikTok army.
The Chechen people don't support Russia, despite what the puppet government claims. They actually declared a jihad against Putin a while back, but haven't heard much about it since.
Incidentally, you could say similar things about Belarus and Syria, but unfortunately, what matters is who possesses centralized power. There are Chechen volunteers on both sides of the invasion.
Haven't heard Axis in quite a while. The boys are getting back together.
Not the European tour reunion I was expecting.
Hoping for Blink 182, but we got the Blitzkrieg instead.
Either way, it'll cost about the same.
I didn't sell out, son, I bought in. Keep that in mind. Is that an SLC Punk reference?
Iran better check their own house before messing around in Ukraine's backyard. History has shown several times that you don't go to war when your populace is already in open revolt.
What country do you mean by that?
Russia left WW1 because it was in the interest of Russian communists, Bolsheviks, who took power during a revolution in November 1917. The Bolsheviks' priority was to win a civil war against their domestic opponents, not to fight in WW1. That open revolt came about due to Russia's involvement in the war and resulted in the death of the Tsar.
It's likely Russia would have still collapsed. They had many protests and a revolution before the First World War.
Agreed, but the idea is not to go to war with massive protests in your country because it rarely works out for the ruling government. The other commenter asked for a country this happened to, so I supplied the first answer off the top of my head.
So, we're just going to ignore the Chinese grenades that the Ukrainians captured? K.
Me an Iranian. Fuck this, why are they doing this? How hard was it to do nothing?
Money and probably promise to help quell those Fiesti women.
Oh, there's a big surprise. I think I'm gonna have a heart attack and die from not surprised. Like if you read it in Mr. Gottfried's voice.
I didn't, but now I did.
Finally we have an axis to grind.
Are finally all bad regimes kinda join up so they are swept away in one concentrated conflict?
Greater than are finally all bad regimes kinda join up so they are swept away in one concentrated conflict. We'll be home in time for cornflakes.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.